A big focus on the mining sector this afternoon. The African mining indaba continuing in Cape Town. The Minerals Council says government has made big progress in dealing with the ports and the railways that come under Transnet, but they're still waiting for the new cadastral system, the new mineral mapping system, to come into force. Mining's played a huge role in shaping our society and our economy, but there are some signs that mining companies are looking at other countries in which to invest because of the problems we have here. Andrew van Zyl is the MD of SRK Consulting in South Africa. Andrew, good afternoon to you. Firstly, the comments yesterday by the President and the Mineral Resources Ministry, do you expect the mining sector, or all the companies in it, to welcome those comments? Do you think they see progress?
I think as an industry we see progress. I think there's a general understanding that government has listened to our concerns, and there certainly is an intention to address them. I think some of them, though, that the solutions are quite complex and the solutions will take time to implement. And we also have the challenge where this being a year where there are plenty of distractions on the political front. We'll have to wait and see how effectively the listening and the proposed solutions, how that actually gets executed.
I mean, it's one of those situations where actions speak louder than words. The problem is it still takes a while for the actions to take effect. So government, Port, Transnet may all be doing the right thing, but you don't know yet.
That's correct. And especially for most of us, we're quite far removed. So we can say, well, various hold-ups and they have inflationary effects and they increase the costs of... But, we tend to see these things at, quite a long way down the line. And it becomes quite difficult for us, certainly, unless you're very directly involved with the ports or with the rail or one of the other facets, to if you're only seeing sort of second and third hand effects, it's very difficult to know what action made a difference and how quickly it's making a difference and whether it's working.
The cadastral system, this is the mineral mapping system that basically allowed companies to see who was mining what and where they were mining it and would allow them to apply for mining rights. How big a problem has that been over the years? People tell me the current system, the SAMRAN system, just hasn't worked at all.
Yeah, I think there have been a number of complaints over a number of years, this has been the system that's been asked for by industry. I think the hope is that this will bring a measure of transparency. It'll help the industry sort of more broadly appreciate who has what permits and who has what rights to explore or to extract, and that this will lead to some movement, both in terms of the approval of licenses, but also knowing who to approach if you're trying to get access to a piece of land and to know who has the current rights.
Do you think it will actually improve quite quickly? I mean, you've got to take an old system and integrate that data with a new system. I don't know about you, Andrew, but if you've ever tried to transfer your contacts from an iPhone to an Android phone, you know how difficult that can be.
Yeah, look, I think, what's positive is my understanding is that there's now an approved supplier who will begin work on the system. And I think, as you've correctly pointed out, we assume that they've been appointed because they had a sort of a clear demonstration of competence and ability, and I haven't checked exactly who it is and what they've done in the past, but you assume that there was a good sort of rigorous background check, etc., and check of references and whatnot, but there's they're still vulnerable to what information is made available to them. They're vulnerable to, I don't know what sort of sources of information are available, how easy it is to convert those into the new system, and how many conflicting sources of information there are. And then again, whether they have control over where it's hosted and how effective that infrastructure is. So there's a long way to go before we see whether this is going to be a workable solution or whether this is going to solve all of the problems. We as an industry, I guess, are just hoping that this is something that can be done reasonably effectively and efficiently, and we're all looking forward to having the information available.
I mean, what we really need, I don't need to tell you this, Andrew, is we need a real large amount of investment in our country to basically create jobs. We know we have still a large number of natural resources. We haven't really seen proper mining exploration. We haven't really seen that investment in the last few years. What would sort of be the things government could do that would have a big impact over the next little while?
Yeah, look, I think it's a combination of, as an industry, it starts with us looking for the sort of minerals that are in demand. It starts with us looking at previous exploration results and just applying some fresh thinking to what's been, to where we've looked before for something else, and just looking at it with some fresh eyes. And then, yes, as you say, it's about having the confidence to pursue investment in South Africa, trusting that, as a nation, for all of our problems, we've proved pretty resilient. And the mining industry, I think, is an excellent example of that resilience. We found a way to not only get through COVID, but to actually be a really constructive partner with the government, with our knowledge of respiratory illness, as an example. So we've found a way, and I think we have to trust our ability to find ways to make it work, and to believe that if we make investments and if we explore and invest, that we'll be able to generate a return and back ourselves also we've learned a lot about engagement with government and with communities, and so just sort of trust that those lessons that we've learned will enable us to work effectively.
I mean, one of the things that sort of happened, around the world, we see a lot more, let me choose my words carefully. Instability may be too strong, but we certainly see, in markets that have been well developed over many years, no one knows what's going to happen in mining in the United States, for example. Things can go to the left or the right very quickly. Does that maybe strengthen our case? We have people who've managed mines here through very tough conditions. Everybody knows what they need to do. You need to bring your own power for a start. And that means that the risk is priced in. In other countries, maybe there will be less risk, but it's not priced in. Here, you know what the price is.
Yeah, I think that the level of uncertainty globally is actually quite high. We've seen what are supposedly these wonderfully attractive mining jurisdictions introduce super taxes, carbon taxes, then revoke the taxes, and so that I think we sometimes overstate the risks in South Africa and in Africa. We also forget that for all that there are clearly risks in operating in sub-Saharan Africa, we are operating, whereas in many places, many other jurisdictions in the developed world, people haven't managed to get mines off the ground at all. So yes, there are risks, but yes, we're actually mining. We're actually engaging with communities. We're actually managing to generate a social license to operate. We're working through issues around water and climate change and power. We're on a journey to decarbonize our operations, and so we're managing to do these things, and it is really challenging for us as an industry. But in South Africa and sub-Saharan Africa, we are managing to open mines and to operate mines, and that is a positive.
And the issue around skills, we used to have some of the best mining engineers in the world. If you have some of the deepest mines in the world, you're going to need some of the best engineers in the world to manage them. I've heard of engineers leaving the country simply because there are no mines to work in, no proper exploration. Is there a skill shortage in our industry at the moment?
It's a mix. I would say that we still have some outstanding skills in South Africa, and we see. I'd like to think that we have some, for example, but certainly in some of the big mining houses and some of the smaller miners, you still have a large number of really experienced people who've been in the mining industry for many decades, and have really they've learned both the science of mining and the art of mining, and so they still provide a really strong, experienced core. We're seeing a lot of people come through, sometimes more graduates than what the industry is able to take in. So naturally, those graduates are looking for employment in other jurisdictions where there are real skills shortages. So I think South Africa will be a source of skills for many other countries, but we do have to work hard to make sure that we retain a strong core of skills and a strong core of experience with experience in their core technical discipline, but also importantly experience in being able to integrate their discipline with other disciplines and to understand how the sort of package is optimized.
Andrew Finsell, thank you. Managing Director of SRK Consulting South Africa. Really do appreciate the time.